Hey guys, Paul here, and this is another video update for Void Destroyer 2. There's been quite a lot of little things tweaked, added to the game. If this is your first video about Void Destroyer 2, you might want to watch something else, because this will mostly apply to players that played the game before, kind of more interested in the updates to the project. But anyway, to you guys, this past few weeks have been spent on improving what was recently put in place. So the code for field ownership, if you remember, last update talked about that. The code for field ownership had some issues, had some gaps, things like that. So you could take a field, pirates could lose a field, things like that. But them gaining a new field was a bit hard for them. So this past few weeks, I'm working on that, and now if there's no fields that a base owns, that a pirate faction owns, they'll send a pretty sizable force to take a field. So that force is right here, and let's watch. This also created this issue where some of the missions were designed to look at the nearest pirate field in terms of which pirates to spawn. So it kind of created these issues. These issues were fixed. Now we see that this faction has taken this empty field. In case this field was owned by somebody else, these guys would have still sent these ships, and had a nice space battle here to take it over. So I think that's a pretty cool little tweak to create situations where the game world isn't static. The field ownership idea, the fields changing hands, was added so that the game world wouldn't be a static. But then if they never take a significant step to take another field, it would just be a bit wasted there. So as you can see now, they do take pretty significant steps. So they'll spread from their nearest base, and they'll keep spreading out like that, unless of course the player stops them, or the military stops them, or something like that stops them. So a little tweak, little tiny tweak, but I think a cool addition as we continue to improve the game. The game continually improves. Some improvements are like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then we want to take another 2 steps forward to sort of counteract that. So when I made fields change hands, then I needed this for factions to be more aggressive getting them back. And if you remember, also in the last update, I've also touched on gates. I made it so if you just right-click a gate, you will just use it like this. You don't have to go into ship mode. You can go ahead and just use it easily from there. And if you noticed, what it said was that I hacked the gate hacked. This is actually a crime. So what's happening now, if the military doesn't like me, and the military owns these gates, and they won't let me use the gate. However, there is now a active upgrade that you can install, which lets you hack gates to open them up, and if you use it, after a few brief moments, the gate will become active. So if you don't have this upgrade and you're hostile to the military, the gate won't be usable, or you won't be able to activate the gate. But if you have this upgrade, if you're a pirate, you can still use gates if you're a pirate, basically. And the whole point of gates is to allow you to have this fast travel method at this advantage of having to pay for it, and being friends. But using this method, you can still use gates at the cost of the active upgrade slot. So I really like this for a bunch of reasons. One of them being that the game world has certain rules. Just like real life, there's certain rules in real life, there's certain rules in the game, and just like in real life, there's ways to get around those rules. So for example, now the rule is, hey, you can only use a gate if you're a friend, or you can circumvent that rule via hacking the gate. In a similar way, if another ship is using a gate and if they activate it, you could also hop into it. So there's a few ways to circumvent these rules at certain costs. You get a wanted timer higher, you give up an active upgrade slot, but you also don't have to pay to activate the gate, which is now costs 1,000 credits. So again, I think it's a pretty cool little thing, pretty cool little addition to make the game world feel more alive. Like you wouldn't expect the military to let pirates use gates. That doesn't make any sense. So we lock that down, but at the same time, we don't want to lock it down forever. We don't want to punish pirates so much. We want to keep the theme of piracy, of being able to circumvent the law, if you're smart enough, if you're equipped enough to do it. And this is that little change to do that. Another change that I'm pretty happy about, another little change, is with the additions of gates. If I zoom out, I see that there's a gate here, there's two gates, there's two gates there, there's two gates there, there's a bunch more other gates. So with the addition of gates, the game world became a lot more crowded. Adding 20 of these pretty large objects kind of made it so sometimes when you're flying, you would sort of smack into these. And as a player, that was easy enough for you to get around. For the AI, it was actually kind of impossible, and they would actually just go straight through it. But another big issue was that this sun, right in the middle of the map, this sun also created this sort of navigational hazard. So here I am, I'm following this this transport ship, and this transport ship was going from a base over here to a base over here. Basically, its path was going through the sun. And not only is that kind of silly, a ship going through the sun would obviously explode, blow up, causing other issues. But it also kind of, if you were doing an escort mission or if you were in a mission that involved following a ship going through here, it really, really took a long time, which is one of the number one sins that I don't want in the game, things taking too long. So now there's this bit of logic to go ahead and for this ship to avoid this object. What it does is it just kind of chooses this path, kind of sort of avoiding this, kind of away from it, and then eventually around it. So another little change that became necessary, that kind of forced my hand via the gates being so big and added to the game. But sooner or later I was going to do this just because it is sun, right in the middle. And now that's fixed, so that's going to be kind of really, I think, really, really cool. Plus, new players tend to do escort missions. So new players might have, like, maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the game, kind of hit this really, really annoying aspect potentially of going through the sun, which kind of takes away from their early game experience, and just kind of a really annoying thing. But now new players will see the ship avoiding the sun, which kind of cements the game world being a real place where people or ships or whatever kind of behave in a somewhat intelligent manner. They don't want to go through here, they want to go around, and they'll do that. So I think it's another really, really cool little change. Another little change is bases and base defense ships. So if I go here towards this base, I see that it has a bunch of defense ships standing by. There's some ships patrolling. Where are those guys? No, can't find the fighters patrolling. They're somewhere. Well, basically there's base defense ships, as we all know, and the new code has bases build them. But when we go to overworld mode, let me load up a save file. Wrong save file, is it? Nah, it's fine. When we go to overworld mode, these defense ships would not appear in overworld mode, and they would just sort of kind of always, well, they weren't there. Now they pop in. As you can see, these are the base defense ships right here, and they're going to do combat with these pirates. And if we hop in, we can see them right away fighting pirates, kind of a response. Again, a little bit more intelligence to the game world. They're fighting them. We see a cool battle, kind of faster versus them just from this starting position, kind of going after the pirates. So now base defense ships will pop into the overworld mode. They'll do battle with the pirates, and then they'll go back to doing their thing. So again, it's a pretty cool little thing, making the game world a little more intelligent, a little more alive, a little more concrete. When they're done, these base defense ships will go back to the base, and they will pop out of existence again, just kind of ready for the response. And this is another thing that will help. There it goes. Like that ship went back to being a base defense ship. It's another little thing that will help in the future with making attacking bases the response a little better. Of potentially these guys traveling to other bases to help defend them. Alrighty, so Void Destroyer is a mix of space combat and real-time strategy. You get fleets, you get things like that. So from part 1, in tactical mode, you have this interface to help you find objects. In tactical mode, you could find them easier via this list. This needs a little work on. Actually, the player faction color needs a bunch of work on. It's just kind of too invisible on this background. But anyway, tactical mode had this little GUI here where you can find different objects. And I decided to add the same in overworld mode. I basically had all the assets. I had all the code, pretty much, more or less. There's some tweaks needed because overworld mode works differently than tactical mode and things like that. But now you have this GUI right here. You click this button, and you have this known contact list. And here I can choose, okay, I want to see this Reaper. I click it, really easy. Instead of, for example, trying to pick it out from here, zooming in, clicking it, you can just click it directly. So this is going to make things a little easier for you, for the players, finding things. If I want to see platforms, here's the platforms. If I want to see bases, here's my known bases. So if I want to go to the meter, I click it, I say go to here, and my ship is going to go to it. I don't have to potentially search for it via this screen, like, oh, where's the meter? No, that's not the meter, that's New Troy. Oh, that's FOB Gamma. Okay, there's the meter. So this known contact list, I think, is a little tiny change that's going to help a bunch of players. You can hide it if you don't want to use it. You can find gates, you can find fields, things like that. Little tiny change, but I think a pretty cool little one to help the player out. Speaking of finding your way around the world, I tweaked the way that this sort of overworld faraway objects interface works. If you remember, these icons tell you what's far away in the overworld mode. For example, here, this is telling me the bases in that direction. So if I travel this way, sooner or later I'll hit that base, although quite slowly because I'm in ship mode. So before, these icons were on top here, and I think a lot of new players were kind of confused what they are. Now they're moved here to this sort of their own spot, which is not potentially obscured by upgrades or by this health by credits, they kind of have a little better spot. They also don't take up the entire screen, and that's mostly because there's the comms section here, there's other sections here that are hidden. But this kind of makes it a little more usable, and I think a little more apparent what this is signifying, especially if we have a mission. So if we go towards a base, let's find that base again. There it is. Switch to overworld mode, and let's go to this closer base, this the shark here. And if we dock, which is not a great example because we'll need a different ship here. That's fine. Let's just quickly dock with this base. A little bit of excitement to the upgrade in case some new players are watching and they got this far, which is kind of unlikely, I guess. Let's buy another ship because we're going to need a ship for this base. Let's get a mission. So if we get a bounty target gunship here, accept this mission, and we're on docking. You'd normally see this arrow pointing at this at where this object is, but now you also see an icon for it too. So before you wouldn't actually see a ship icon here, but now with this sort of few little tweaks, you see an arrow pointing at it. You see that it's a ship, so you know right away that that's where you're supposed to be headed to find this ship, this bounty ship that's right there. So I think this is a cool little change to also include objectives, no matter how far they are. So even if they're very far away, these icons will still show up, whereas these ones are just for the close by objects. If every object was up here, no matter how far, it would just be crowded. You know, there's like what, 50, 60 objects in the overworld. I'm not sure, including ships. Then there's hundreds. So this would be quite crowded. So this is your nearby list, and for mission objects, it also includes objects that are really far away. So I think that's a cool little change. I think this is going to make the game a little more usable, a little more user-friendly, both for new players and existing players, to kind of navigate your way around the game world. Pretty happy with this update, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright guys, that's it for this development video. Bunch of little things. I'll probably work on a bunch of other little things, and then on bigger things as usual. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys have a great day, and thank you for supporting the project.